The tribe expelled the blind Apache woman until the rancher swore, "I'll be your eyes." The sun was beginning to sink behind the distant mesas, painting the desert sky in shades of orange, pink, and gold. The air was dry and still, carrying only the faint whisper of the wind across the sand and scrub. On the edge of the small Apache reservation, a woman walked slowly, her hands outstretched in front of her. She moved carefully, feeling the rough textures of the earth beneath her fingertips. Every step was deliberate. Every sound around her was a guide. Her name was Maya, though she often felt that her identity had been stripped away by the harsh judgments of those around her. Maya had been born blind. From the moment she opened her eyes, or rather, from the moment she was aware of the world, she had never seen the faces of her family, the colors of the sky, or the shifting shapes of the desert landscape. Instead, she relied on her other senses, listening for the faintest rustle of a lizard in the brush, or the distant cry of a bird riding the evening wind. While some in the tribe had been patient and caring, most saw her blindness as a weakness, a burden that made her unworthy of the life they considered honorable. Even as a child, she had noticed the whispers behind her back, the subtle avoidance, and the sideways glances that told her she did not belong. Over the years, the tension had grown. Maya's family had tried to help her, but the expectations of the tribe were strict. Everyone was meant to contribute, to participate in daily life, in traditions, and in responsibilities that required sight. It was not that the tribe was cruel, they simply feared weakness. Maya had tried to prove herself. She learned to carry water, to cook simple meals, to memorize the trails and landmarks of the desert. She tried to participate in ceremonies and communal work. She listened intently to instructions and asked countless questions. Still, it was never enough. On this evening, the elders had convened a meeting without her knowledge. Their voices, stern and heavy, carried across the small central square where the tribe gathered for announcements. The sun cast long shadows that stretched across the ground as Maya's heart sank at the murmurs she could feel more than hear. She had been warned before, subtly at first and then openly, that her presence was becoming difficult for the tribe to manage. She knew that tonight the final decision would be made. When the elders spoke, Maya heard the words clearly despite her blindness. "She cannot continue like this," one elder said. "It is not right for the tribe to bear the burden of her care." Another voice added, "We have tried to guide her, but she cannot meet the needs of our people. It is for her own good and ours." Maya felt a cold weight settle in her chest. She had known this moment might come, but the reality was far harsher than any fear she had imagined. She left her small dwelling quietly, her hands brushing along the walls for support, her heart pounding in her chest. There was no shouting, no confrontation. The tribe had made their choice and she was to leave. The world felt suddenly enormous, unyielding, and empty. Every step she took seemed to echo louder than usual, emphasizing the silence around her. She felt the rough desert soil beneath her feet, the prick of tiny stones, and the occasional brush of dry grass against her arms. Maya wandered toward the edge of the desert, the place where the land stretched endlessly, and the mountains rose like silent guardians in the distance. She could hear the faint calls of animals preparing for nightfall, the scuttling of rodents, the flapping of wings, the distant howl of a coyote. Each sound painted a picture of the world she could not see, but it was not enough to comfort her heart. She felt the sting of rejection, a pain sharper than any physical wound. For years, she had tried to belong, to prove that she could contribute, to show that blindness did not make her less than anyone else. Yet, here she was, cast out alone, without a single hand to guide her. As she walked, memories of her childhood came flooding back. She remembered sitting near the fire as a little girl, listening to the stories of her ancestors, the legends of brave warriors, and the songs of the wind. She remembered her mother's gentle voice guiding her, teaching her the feel of the earth, the scent of herbs, and the rhythm of the seasons. And she remembered the first time she had been aware of the tribe's disapproval, the first time a child had refused to play with her, the first time an adult had muttered behind her back. All those small, sharp moments had built up, and now they culminated in the ultimate rejection. Night fell, and the temperature dropped. The desert became a place of whispers and shadows. Maya moved carefully, guided by memory and intuition. She reached a small ridge where the wind was stronger, and she stopped. She could feel the vast emptiness of the land stretching out before her. The silence was overwhelming. There was no one to speak to, no one to share her fears with. She pressed her palms to her face, inhaling the dry, dusty air, tasting the bitterness of her loneliness. She felt the tears on her cheeks, hot and relentless, and allowed herself to grieve fully for the first time in years. Hours passed, though she could not measure them. Stars began to appear in the sky, their cold light reaching across the desert. Maya sat on a rock, listening to the night. She felt the tremor of a distant animal, the movement of sand, the cooling of the earth. She realized that while she had been rejected by her tribe, the world itself was not cruel. It was vast and challenging, yes, but it was alive with sound, scent, and texture. And somewhere beyond her hearing, someone else might be watching, someone who could offer the guidance she so desperately needed. Her thoughts drifted to the concept of hope. It had been buried under years of rejection and struggle, but it still existed, fragile and persistent. Maya began to consider what life might look like if she found someone willing to help her navigate the world. She did not dream of returning to her tribe, not yet. But she imagined a life where she was not constantly reminded of what she lacked, a life where she could contribute in her own way and be valued for who she was. It was then, as the wind swept across the ridge, that she heard a sound, a voice, clear and steady, calling her name from a distance. Her heart leapt. The voice was unfamiliar, but it carried a warmth she had not felt in a long time. She listened intently, letting the sound guide her. The voice repeated gently but insistently, "Maya, are you there? Do you need help?" For the first time in years, someone had offered her guidance without judgment, without expectation. The fear that had been her constant companion was still there, but it was joined by something new, curiosity and the faintest spark of trust. She answered softly, her voice trembling, "Yes, I need help." A figure approached through the dim light of dusk, moving carefully so as not to startle her. Maya felt the presence of another human being, steady and reassuring, and something deep within her shifted. She was no longer entirely alone. Perhaps the world still held kindness, and perhaps someone could help her navigate it. The figure came closer, and she recognized the steady rhythm of a confident gait, the careful consideration in each step. "I'm a rancher," the voice explained gently. "I live nearby. I've seen you wandering, and I wanted to make sure you're safe. Let me help you." Maya's heart pounded. She had never met this person, yet there was an undeniable sincerity in his tone. Something inside her stirred, a cautious hope she had not dared to feel before. She nodded slowly, her hands reaching out instinctively, trusting this stranger for the first time. "I'll be your eyes," the rancher said simply, with unwavering certainty. "I will help you see the world even if you cannot see it yourself. You don't have to be alone anymore." Those words were like a lifeline thrown across a stormy sea. For the first time in her life, Maya felt a fragile but real sense of safety. Perhaps rejection was not the end of her story. Perhaps with help she could find a new path, one where she was valued, one where she could navigate the world without fear. That night, under the endless sky, Maya and the rancher made their way slowly toward his land. Each step was careful, deliberate, but filled with quiet trust. The desert was still vast and intimidating, but for the first time, Maya felt she had someone to face it with. And for the first time, she dared to imagine a future that was not defined by what she could not see, but by what she could feel, hear, and experience with guidance and friendship. As they walked, the stars overhead seemed to shimmer a little brighter, as if acknowledging the beginning of something new. Maya pressed forward, her hand lightly on the rancher's arm, feeling the steadiness of his presence. It was not the life she had envisioned, but it was a life full of possibility, a life where rejection had led not to despair, but to hope. And as the cool desert night wrapped around them, Maya realized that perhaps, just perhaps, she had finally found someone who could be her eyes in a world that had too long turned away from her. The next morning, the desert was quiet, bathed in a soft golden light as the sun began to rise over the mesas. The air was still cool, carrying the faint scent of sage and dry earth. Maya awoke on a simple blanket the rancher had set out for her, feeling the warmth of the morning sun on her skin. For the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of safety and calm. She was not in her tribe's village, yet the desert did not feel threatening. It felt wide, open, and full of possibilities. She could hear the rancher moving around nearby, preparing for the day. The soft clatter of utensils and the scrape of a broom told her he was already tending to his chores. She stayed still for a moment, listening, letting the sounds anchor her to the world around her. The presence of another human being, someone patient, someone willing to guide her, felt strange but comforting. After a few moments, the rancher called out to her. "Maya, breakfast is ready. I made some eggs and bread. Sit near the table and I'll bring it to you." His voice was steady, calm, and warm. She followed his guidance, her hands reaching out carefully to find the edge of the table. He placed a plate in front of her, guiding her hand to the utensils. She felt a rush of gratitude. No one had ever treated her with such patience, such respect for her abilities and her limitations. As she ate, the rancher began to speak. "I know the tribe turned you away," he said gently. "I saw you walking near the edge of the reservation last night. I wanted to make sure you were safe. You shouldn't be out here alone, not in the desert." Maya nodded, swallowing hard to keep her emotions in check. The memory of the tribe's rejection was still fresh, still painful. She had spent years longing for acceptance, for a place where she belonged, and now she was learning that the world could offer kindness instead of judgment. I don't know what to say," she admitted softly. "I've never had anyone offer help like this before." The rancher smiled, a gentle expression that made her feel more at ease. "You don't have to say anything. I just want to help you. You're not a burden, Maya. You're a person with skills, with a life to live. You just need guidance." Guidance. It was a word that carried so much hope. For years she had been told that she was limited, that her blindness made her less capable. Now someone was saying the opposite, that she could navigate life with the right help, that her abilities were real and valuable. She felt a flicker of excitement deep in her chest, mingled with fear. Could she trust this man? Could she leave the only life she had ever known behind? The rancher seemed to read her thoughts. "We can take it slow," he said. "I'll help you learn how to move safely, how to feel your way through the world. You don't have to do anything alone anymore. I'll be your eyes." Those words struck her like a promise, a lifeline thrown across a turbulent sea. Maya's heart pounded. Could someone really see her world for her? Could someone truly guide her through life without taking away her independence? She wanted to believe it. She needed to believe it. After breakfast, they began the first lesson. The rancher instructed her to walk slowly across the open space near the ranch house. "I'll guide you with my voice and my hand," he said. "Listen to the sounds around you. Feel the textures under your feet. Trust me." Maya nodded, placing her hand lightly on his arm. Step by step, she moved forward, feeling the uneven ground, the slight bumps of small rocks, the brush of grass against her legs. The rancher described everything she could not see, the direction of the wind, the slope of the land, the position of the trees. He was patient, repeating instructions and explanations whenever necessary. At first, Maya felt clumsy and uncertain. Her mind wanted to anticipate what she could not see, but the rancher reminded her to focus on the present moment. "Don't worry about what's ahead," he said softly. "Feel what's under your feet. Listen to what's around you. Trust your senses and trust me." Slowly, her confidence grew. She began to notice patterns, the way the ground shifted beneath her, the sounds of birds calling to each other, the distant rustle of an animal moving through the brush. Each new sensation was like a small victory, proof that she could navigate the world with guidance and awareness. Over the next few days, the rancher continued to teach her. He showed her how to identify landmarks by sound and smell, how to detect changes in the terrain, and how to use her other senses to see the world around her. He was careful not to push too hard, letting her progress at her own pace. As they spent more time together, Maya began to feel a deep trust growing between them. The rancher was steady, reliable, and kind. He never treated her with pity or condescension. Instead, he acknowledged her abilities and encouraged her to explore them. For the first time, she felt valued, not for what she could not do, but for what she could learn and achieve. One afternoon, as the sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the desert, the rancher suggested a walk further from the ranch. "There's a small canyon nearby," he said. "It's beautiful and I think you'll enjoy it. I'll be right here with you the whole time." Maya hesitated. The canyon was unfamiliar, and the thought of venturing so far from safety made her nervous. But she also felt a spark of curiosity. She wanted to see the world in her own way, to experience it fully, even if her eyes could not guide her. She nodded slowly, placing her hand on his arm, ready to trust him. The walk was slow, deliberate. The rancher guided her carefully, describing the rising canyon walls, the shifting rocks beneath their feet, the distant sound of a small stream. Maya listened intently, absorbing every detail. She could not see the colors or shapes, but she could feel the majesty of the canyon through his words, through the textures, and through the sounds. When they reached the edge of the stream, the rancher knelt down and allowed her to touch the water. "It's cool and clear," he said. "Feel the flow. It moves around the rocks and bends with the curves of the canyon. Listen to it." Maya placed her hands in the water, feeling the current rush past her fingers. The sensation was invigorating, almost magical. She could imagine the stream winding through the canyon, the sun glinting off the surface, the soft murmur of water blending with the distant cries of birds. She laughed softly, a sound of pure joy she had not felt in years. The rancher smiled, sensing her happiness. "You see, you don't need eyes to experience the beauty around you. You just need to pay attention, to trust your senses, and to trust me." As the days turned into weeks, Maya's skills improved remarkably. She learned to move with confidence, to recognize landmarks, and to navigate complex terrain. She discovered that her other senses were stronger than she had ever realized. She could hear the subtle changes in wind direction, smell the faint traces of animals, and sense the textures of rocks and soil with incredible precision. The bond between Maya and the rancher grew stronger as well. They shared stories of their lives, of struggles and triumphs, of dreams and fears. Maya spoke of her childhood, the tribe's rejection, and the loneliness she had endured. The rancher shared his own experiences of growing up on the land, of learning responsibility, and of understanding the value of compassion. Through their conversations, Maya realized that she was not alone. She had found someone who believed in her, who respected her, and who offered guidance without judgment. She began to feel a sense of belonging that she had never experienced before. The desert, once a place of isolation and fear, became a space of learning, growth, and connection. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with deep purples and oranges, the rancher and Maya sat quietly near the stream. The air was cool and the sound of water flowing over rocks filled the silence. The rancher spoke softly. "Maya, I know leaving your tribe was hard. I know it's not easy to trust someone new, but you are strong, capable, and remarkable. You've shown me that blindness is not a limitation. You just need someone to help guide you." Maya felt tears welling in her eyes, a mixture of gratitude, relief, and a newfound sense of hope. For the first time, she truly believed in the possibility of a life beyond fear and rejection, a life where she could experience the world fully, with guidance, support, and friendship. As night fell, Maya realized that her journey had only just begun. The rancher had become more than a guide. He had become a companion, a protector, and a friend. And with him by her side, she felt ready to face the world, to explore its wonders, and to discover the strength that had always been within her. For the first time in her life, Maya felt truly seen, not with eyes but with understanding, care, and respect. And in that understanding she found hope, courage, and a sense of belonging she had never thought possible. The desert stretched endlessly before them, full of mysteries, challenges, and beauty. Maya knew that with the rancher's guidance she could navigate it all. Together, they could face whatever came next, step by careful step, heart by heart. And for Maya, the promise of a new life, a life filled with trust, guidance, and possibility, was more powerful than anything she had ever imagined. The days grew longer, and the desert sun began to rise higher in the sky. Maya had settled into a routine at the ranch, guided carefully by the rancher who had become her companion, her guide, and her anchor in a world that had often seemed cold and unforgiving. Each morning, she awoke to the soft sounds of the ranch, the lowing of cattle in the distance, the rustle of leaves in the gentle morning wind, and the familiar footsteps of the rancher moving about his chores. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of stability, a sense that her life was no longer defined by rejection, but by possibility. The rancher, whose name was Thomas, continued his lessons patiently, step by step, teaching her how to navigate the land with increasing confidence. He showed her how to recognize the subtle changes in the terrain, the way sand shifted underfoot, the softness of dry grass, the hardness of rocky ground, and how to listen for the distant sounds of animals moving through the brush. With his guidance, Maya began to develop a keen awareness of the world around her, a sense that was sharpened not by sight, but by sound, smell, and touch. One morning, Thomas suggested they take a longer walk toward the hills that framed the ranch. "There are paths I think you'll enjoy," he said. "You'll feel the changes in elevation, the textures under your feet, and the smells of wildflowers growing along the trail. It will help you understand the land better, and it will be good practice." Maya felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. She had learned to trust Thomas, but venturing further into unknown terrain was still intimidating. "I'm ready," she said softly, placing her hand on his arm, ready to follow his guidance. Step by step, they made their way along the trail. Thomas described every detail, from the gentle slope of the hill to the sound of a creek winding through the canyon below. He explained how to feel the earth beneath her feet, to notice the subtle shifts in texture, and to identify landmarks by sound and scent. Maya listened intently, her mind absorbing every piece of information. She discovered that she could navigate more confidently than she had ever imagined. As they walked, Thomas shared stories of the land, of his childhood on the ranch, of the lessons he had learned from the animals, the earth, and the people who had come before him. Maya, in turn, began to open up about her own life, her childhood in the tribe, the struggle of being blind, the isolation she had endured, and the pain of being cast out. Thomas listened with unwavering patience, never interrupting, never judging. Through these conversations, a bond grew between them that went beyond guidance. Maya began to feel not only trust, but a deep sense of companionship. Thomas was more than her eyes. He had become her friend, her support, and her anchor in a world that had often seemed unforgiving. She began to realize that the world was not as lonely as she had believed, and that she could find connection, understanding, and care, even outside the tribe she had once called home. As the weeks passed, Maya's confidence grew. She learned to move with greater independence, to identify landmarks on her own, and to anticipate changes in the terrain. She began to explore the ranch with curiosity and joy, discovering the beauty of the desert through her other senses. The rustling of leaves became a guide to hidden paths, the scent of wildflowers marked the approach of a creek, and the sounds of animals provided a living map of the land. One afternoon, as they walked near a cluster of mesquite trees, Thomas suggested they try a new exercise. "I want you to move ahead a little," he said, "while I guide you with my voice. Trust your instincts and your senses. I'll be here to guide you if you need me, but I want you to practice independence." Maya's heart raced with both fear and excitement. She had never ventured so far without direct guidance. Placing her trust in Thomas's voice, she took a tentative step forward, feeling the textures beneath her feet, listening to the subtle sounds of the wind and the brush. She moved carefully, slowly gaining confidence with each step. Thomas's voice remained a steady presence, giving her directions and reassurance, but allowing her to take the lead. By the time they returned to the ranch house, Maya felt a profound sense of accomplishment. She had discovered that she could rely on her own senses, that she could navigate the world with confidence, and that guidance did not mean dependence, it meant partnership. Thomas smiled at her, pride evident in his voice. "You're learning so quickly. You've come a long way in a short time, Maya. I'm proud of you." Maya felt a warmth in her chest she had not known for years. Praise had once been rare in her life, often overshadowed by criticism or judgment. Now she felt recognized, valued, and encouraged. She began to see herself not as a burden, but as a capable, resilient person who could face challenges and overcome them. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Maya and Thomas sat near the edge of the ranch. The air was cool and the sounds of the desert evening surrounded them, the distant howl of a coyote, the rustle of small animals in the brush, and the whisper of wind through the trees. Thomas spoke softly. "You've changed so much, Maya. You're stronger than you realize. The tribe may not understand, but you've proven your courage and your resilience." Maya listened, feeling the truth in his words. For so long, she had been defined by what she could not do, by the limitations imposed on her by others. Now she realized that her strength was not in her sight, but in her determination, her curiosity, and her willingness to trust and learn. She felt a sense of pride she had never experienced before, a recognition that she could shape her own life, guided by her abilities and her courage. As the days continued, Maya began to explore areas of the ranch that were more challenging: rocky slopes, dense clusters of trees, and winding trails that led toward the hills. Thomas remained close, offering guidance when needed, but allowing her the freedom to test her skills and discover her own limits. Each successful journey brought a new sense of independence, a new confidence in her ability to navigate the world. Maya also began to take joy in the smaller things: the feel of soft grass beneath her fingers, the coolness of water from the creek, the scent of wild herbs growing along the paths. These simple pleasures, once overlooked, became sources of wonder and delight. She discovered that life could be rich and full, even without sight, when experienced with attention, curiosity, and the support of a trusted companion. Meanwhile, word of Maya's progress began to spread. Some members of the tribe had heard rumors of her living with the rancher and learning to navigate the world so successfully. There were whispers of surprise, of admiration, and even of shame. Some elders questioned whether they had made the right decision in casting her out. Maya, however, did not seek their approval. She was building a new life, one step at a time, with someone who believed in her and respected her abilities. One afternoon, as they rested near a quiet stream, Thomas encouraged Maya to try something new. "I want you to catch a small fish," he said, his voice patient and calm. "You won't see it, but you can feel it and use your instincts. I'll guide you if needed." Maya laughed softly, a sound of pure joy. She had never imagined she would be able to participate in activities like this. Yet now, with guidance and confidence, she felt capable. With careful movements, she placed her hands in the water, feeling the gentle current and the movement of small creatures beneath her fingers. With patience and attention, she managed to catch a tiny fish, and Thomas clapped quietly, his pride evident. "You did it, Maya," he said. "See what you're capable of when you trust yourself and trust the guidance you're given." Maya smiled, feeling a surge of confidence. She realized that her world had expanded far beyond the limits imposed by her tribe. She was learning to navigate, to explore, and to experience life in ways she had never thought possible. And through it all, Thomas was there, not as a crutch but as a partner, guiding her while allowing her independence and growth. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the desert, Maya felt a sense of peace she had never known. She had found a life filled with possibility, connection, and trust. The world, once harsh and unwelcoming, was now rich with experiences, challenges, and opportunities. And she knew that with Thomas by her side, she could face anything, step by careful step. Maya also began to realize that she was changing in ways she had not expected. She was more confident, more aware, and more capable than she had ever been. She felt a deep gratitude for Thomas, whose patience, guidance, and unwavering belief in her abilities had opened a new world. And she felt a quiet determination to continue growing, to explore the world fully, and to embrace the life she had been given with courage and hope. The desert stretched endlessly around them, a vast, living landscape full of sounds, scents, and textures. Maya felt connected to it in a way she had never imagined. She realized that her blindness was not a limitation. It was simply a different way of experiencing the world. And with guidance, trust, and determination, she could navigate it fully, with confidence and joy. As night fell and the first stars appeared in the sky, Maya and Thomas sat together in companionable silence. The desert was alive with sound, movement, and life. Maya felt a deep sense of belonging, not in the tribe that had cast her out, but in the world itself, and in the bond she had formed with Thomas. She knew that the journey was far from over, but for the first time she felt ready to face the future with courage, curiosity, and hope. And in that moment, Maya realized something profound. She was not alone. She was not defined by rejection or limitation. She was strong, capable, and full of life. And with Thomas as her guide, her eyes, and her friend, she could embrace the world fully, discovering its beauty and richness one step at a time. The morning air was crisp, carrying the earthy scent of the desert after a brief overnight rain. Maya and Thomas were already awake, tending to the morning chores on the ranch. The sky was painted with soft streaks of pink and gold, and the distant mesas were outlined against the rising sun. For weeks, Maya had grown stronger, more confident, and more independent, navigating the land with skill and grace, guided by Thomas's patient instructions. But she did not yet know that today would test her courage, her abilities, and the bond she had built with him. As they worked together to gather water from the well and feed the animals, a sudden, distant roar of water reached their ears. It was a sound that Maya immediately noticed, the faint, urgent rush of a river or creek swelling with rain. Thomas stopped mid-step, listening carefully. "That doesn't sound normal," he said. "We need to check on the nearby canyon stream. It might be flooding." Maya's heart pounded. She had learned to remain calm and attentive in difficult situations, but the urgency in Thomas's voice sent a shiver through her. Without hesitation, she placed her hand on his arm, ready to follow his lead. "Let's go," she said firmly, trusting him to guide her safely. They moved quickly but carefully toward the canyon where the creek ran. Thomas described every detail as they went, warning her of loose rocks, uneven ground, and the steep slopes that led down to the water. Maya moved with confidence, her senses alert to the textures under her feet, the shifting wind, and the distant roar of the rushing water. When they reached the edge of the canyon, Thomas guided her to a safe spot where she could feel the vibrations of the water below. The creek had swollen into a rushing torrent, faster and stronger than either of them had anticipated. "We need to warn the tribe," Thomas said urgently. "If the water reaches their homes, it could be dangerous." Maya nodded. She could sense the fear and determination in his voice, and it made her focus sharply. She had never faced a crisis like this before, but she was determined to help. "How do we get to them safely?" she asked, placing her trust fully in Thomas. Thomas guided her step by step down a safer path toward the reservation, carefully explaining the terrain, the sounds, and the signs of danger. As they approached the outskirts, Maya could hear the faint voices of the tribal members, unaware of the imminent threat. Some were starting to notice the rising water, but panic had not yet set in. "Stay close to me," Thomas instructed. "We'll warn them and make sure everyone gets to higher ground." Maya's senses were heightened. She could feel the vibrations of people moving nearby, hear the subtle sounds of animals fleeing, and smell the damp, rising water. She called out to the tribe, her voice carrying across the land. "Everyone, the water is rising. Move to higher ground immediately." Some members of the tribe paused, startled to hear her urgent voice. For the first time in years they listened, not because of authority or command, but because of courage and presence. Maya's voice, firm and confident, cut through the initial panic. People began to follow her directions, moving quickly towards safer areas. Thomas moved beside her, guiding her hand to ensure she stayed balanced and safe on the uneven terrain. He spoke calmly to her, describing the surroundings and giving instructions as they led the group. Maya was amazed at her own ability to navigate and lead in such a critical situation. The training she had received, the lessons in listening, feeling, and trusting, were now saving lives. As the group reached a safer plateau, Maya could feel a mixture of relief and pride. They were out of immediate danger, and the tribe members were beginning to realize that the blind woman they had cast out was not only capable but brave, resourceful, and determined. Thomas patted her shoulder gently. "You did incredibly well," he said. "I'm proud of you. You've helped guide them to safety." The tribe members looked at her with a new sense of respect. Some approached cautiously, offering nods of acknowledgement. Others whispered among themselves, clearly reconsidering the decision to expel her. Maya's heart swelled with a mixture of emotions, relief, pride, and a quiet sadness for the years of misunderstanding and rejection. But there was no time to dwell. The rain had stopped, but the water levels were still dangerous. Maya and Thomas continued guiding the tribe members to higher, safer ground, ensuring that everyone was accounted for. She felt the weight of responsibility, but she also felt capable, strong, and alive. The crisis had transformed her from someone seen as weak and incapable to someone whose courage and determination could save lives. Once everyone was safe, Thomas suggested they wait together near a large rock formation that offered shelter. Maya sat down, feeling exhausted but fulfilled. The wind had dried slightly, and the sounds of the desert returned, the distant calls of birds, the rustle of small animals, and the gentle whisper of the breeze. Maya could feel the eyes of the tribe upon her. Some looked apologetic, others curious, and a few still skeptical. She realized that their perception of her was shifting. The blind woman they had expelled was no longer weak or helpless. She was strong, capable, and courageous. And Thomas, standing beside her, had proven himself a true guide, protector, and friend. One of the elders approached cautiously. "Maya," he said, his voice low and respectful, we did not understand. You have shown us courage and skill we never expected. We were wrong to cast you out." Maya listened quietly, feeling the sting of the past but also the hope of reconciliation. She nodded, acknowledging his words without anger. "I have learned much since leaving the tribe," she said softly. "I am grateful for the guidance I have received, I hope we can all move forward with understanding and respect." Another member of the tribe stepped forward. We never realized how capable you are. Perhaps we were too hasty in our judgment." Maya felt a warmth in her chest. For the first time, she sensed the possibility of forgiveness and acceptance, even if it would take time. Thomas smiled, proud of her composure and strength. "You've shown them who you really are," he said quietly. "You've proven that being blind doesn't mean being weak. Your courage speaks louder than anyone's words." Maya felt a deep sense of pride. She had faced danger, guided others to safety, and discovered a strength she had never known existed within her. The experience had not only transformed her, but also challenged the perceptions of those who had doubted her for so long. As the day progressed, Maya and Thomas helped the tribe members assess the damage from the rising water. They worked together to ensure that homes and livestock were safe, that paths were cleared, and that everyone had what they needed. Maya's skills were invaluable. She could detect changes in terrain, identify hazards, and guide people with confidence. Her training and experience with Thomas had prepared her for this moment, and she had risen to the challenge. By evening, the immediate danger had passed. The tribe gathered together to rest and recover. Many of them looked at Maya with newfound respect, acknowledging her courage and skill. Some approached to thank her personally, offering words of gratitude and admiration. Maya felt a mixture of humility and pride. She had not acted for recognition, but the acknowledgement was deeply meaningful. Thomas stayed close, supporting her as always. "You've changed everything," he said softly, "not just for yourself, but for them too. You've shown them what courage looks like, and what it means to face fear with strength and determination." Maya smiled, feeling a quiet sense of accomplishment. She had faced the crisis with courage, guided others to safety, and discovered a new level of confidence in her abilities. She had also strengthened her bond with Thomas, whose guidance and unwavering support had made all the difference. As night fell, the desert was calm once more. The stars appeared in the sky, twinkling brightly above the mesas and hills. Maya sat with Thomas, listening to the gentle sounds of the night, the rustle of animals, the whisper of wind, and the distant murmur of water from the creek. She felt a sense of peace, knowing that she had faced a great challenge and had emerged stronger, wiser, and more confident. She also realized that the tribe's perception of her had begun to shift. They had seen her courage, her skill, and her determination. They had witnessed firsthand that being blind did not mean being helpless, and while full acceptance might take time, the seeds of respect and understanding had been planted. Maya looked at Thomas, feeling gratitude and warmth. "I could not have done this without you," she said softly. "You've guided me, supported me, and believed in me when others did not." Thomas smiled gently. "You did it yourself, Maya. I only guided you. The courage, skill, and strength were always yours. I just helped you see them." In that moment, Maya felt a profound sense of connection, to Thomas, to herself, and to the world around her. She realized that true guidance was not about doing for someone, but about helping them discover their own strength. She had learned to trust her senses, her instincts, and her abilities, and she had discovered that she was capable of more than she had ever imagined. The crisis had tested her, challenged her, and revealed her true strength. And as she sat under the vast desert sky, she knew that she was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. With Thomas by her side, she felt confident, capable, and empowered to face the future, step by step, with courage and hope. The desert, once a place of fear and isolation, had become a place of growth, learning, and possibility. And Maya, the blind woman once expelled by her tribe, had emerged as a symbol of courage, resilience, and determination. The desert morning was calm, painted in soft shades of gold and amber as the sun rose over the mesas. The events of the past days had left the tribe, Maya and Thomas changed forever. The flood had passed, leaving behind traces of water and mud, but also a new sense of understanding and respect. Maya felt the difference deeply. She had faced danger, guided her former tribe members to safety, and discovered her own strength. For the first time, she realized that she was truly capable of shaping her life, independent of the judgments of others. The tribe had gathered that morning, not in panic or disapproval, but with curiosity and cautious respect. The elders, who had once cast her out, approached slowly. Their faces were somber but sincere. Maya felt a mixture of anticipation and uncertainty. She had grown strong and independent, but the fear of confrontation lingered. She had learned to navigate the world with Thomas by her side, and now she would face her tribe with the same confidence. An elder stepped forward, his voice steady. "Maya," he began, "we were wrong to expel you. We did not understand your abilities or your courage. Today, you have shown us what strength truly means." Maya listened quietly, her heart pounding. The words were not easy to hear at first. They carried the weight of years of rejection, but they also offered an opening for understanding. "I have learned much since leaving," Maya replied softly. "I have discovered that being blind does not mean being weak. I have learned to navigate the world with guidance, patience, and trust. I have grown stronger, and I have found someone who believes in me." She glanced at Thomas, who stood quietly beside her, offering silent support. The elder nodded. "We see that now. We have witnessed your courage and your skill. We cannot undo the past, but we can acknowledge your strength and your contributions." Other members of the tribe stepped forward, expressing similar sentiments: admiration, respect, and acknowledgement of the injustice they had caused. Maya felt a quiet sense of fulfillment. She had faced rejection and danger, yet she had emerged stronger, independent, and proud. Her journey had not been easy, but she had proven to herself and to others that her abilities were real and valuable. The tribe's acknowledgement, though long overdue, was a moment of closure, a recognition that she was capable, courageous, and deserving of respect. As the morning progressed, Maya and Thomas helped the tribe assess the aftermath of the flood. Together, they repaired paths, ensured livestock were safe, and guided people to areas unaffected by the rising water. Maya's skills were invaluable. She could detect unstable ground, sense changes in terrain, and navigate efficiently, all without sight. The tribe began to see her not as a burden, but as a capable, courageous individual who had contributed greatly to their safety. Thomas remained at her side, his calm presence and steady guidance a constant source of support. He had not only helped her navigate the world, but had also empowered her to trust her own abilities. "You've grown so much, Maya," he said softly as they worked together. "You've discovered your own strength and your own courage. I am proud of you." Maya smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. She had found more than guidance in Thomas. She had found a friend, a companion, and someone who believed in her abilities when others had doubted them. She realized that true partnership was not about doing for someone, but about guiding, supporting, and encouraging them to discover their own strength. By afternoon, the tribe had gathered for a small ceremony to honor Maya's courage and contribution. They spoke of her bravery, her skill, and the difference she had made during the crisis. Maya listened with a quiet sense of pride, acknowledging their words without resentment. She had grown beyond the need for their approval, but she appreciated their recognition of her strength. One of the younger members of the tribe approached Maya, his voice respectful. "I never realized how strong you are," he said. "I am sorry for doubting you before. You have taught us what courage really means." Maya placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "Thank you," she said. "Courage is not about sight or strength alone. It's about determination, trust, and persistence. We all have the ability to be brave in our own ways." As the ceremony concluded, Maya felt a sense of peace and belonging she had never known before. She had faced rejection, learned to navigate the world with guidance, and proven her courage and skill. She had also earned the respect of her tribe, even if full acceptance would take time. The seeds of understanding and admiration had been planted, and she could feel them growing around her. After the ceremony, Maya and Thomas walked back toward the ranch, the desert stretching endlessly around them. The air was warm, filled with the scent of dry earth and desert flowers. Maya felt a deep sense of freedom. She had discovered that life could be rich, full, and meaningful, even without sight, as long as she trusted herself and the guidance of those who cared for her. "I never imagined life could be like this," Maya said softly, placing her hand on Thomas's arm. "I thought I would always be alone, misunderstood, and rejected, but now I feel capable, strong, and alive." Thomas smiled, squeezing her hand gently. "You always had the strength inside you, Maya. I only helped you see it. The world is full of possibilities, and now you are ready to face them." Maya felt a surge of gratitude and joy. She realized that the bond she shared with Thomas had transformed her life. She had learned to trust, to explore, and to navigate the world with confidence. She had also discovered that guidance, patience, and understanding could empower someone to achieve more than they ever imagined. As they reached the ranch, Maya paused to listen to the sounds of the evening, the rustle of animals returning to their shelters, the distant calls of birds settling for the night, and the soft whisper of the wind across the desert. She felt a sense of connection, not just to Thomas and the land, but to herself. She had faced challenges, overcome fear, and discovered a new way of living. She had become capable, confident, and courageous. In the weeks that followed, Maya continued to explore the ranch and surrounding desert, guided by Thomas and her own growing instincts. She learned to identify subtle changes in the terrain, recognize the sounds of distant animals, and navigate complex paths with confidence. Each day brought new experiences, new lessons, and new opportunities for growth. The tribe, too, began to change. They observed Maya's independence and skill, recognizing that their judgment had been flawed. Slowly, they began to accept her presence and abilities, showing respect and admiration for her courage. Maya, however, no longer sought approval. She had found her own strength and her own path. She had learned that true acceptance comes from within, and that trust, courage, and determination are more powerful than any external validation. One evening, as the sun set and the desert was bathed in warm orange light, Thomas and Maya sat together on a rocky outcrop overlooking the valley. The air was cool and still, and the sky was painted with the soft glow of twilight. Maya felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey she had undertaken, the struggles, the guidance, and the discoveries that had led her to this moment. "I feel different," Maya said softly. "Stronger, braver, more alive. I never thought I could feel this way." Thomas smiled, his voice gentle. "You've always had this strength inside you. You've learned to trust it, to nurture it, and to use it. That is what makes you remarkable. You are capable of anything you set your mind to." Maya felt tears in her eyes, a mixture of joy, relief, and pride. She had faced rejection, danger, and uncertainty, yet she had emerged stronger, more confident, and empowered. She realized that her life was no longer defined by limitations or fear, but by possibility, courage, and determination. As night fell and stars began to twinkle in the clear desert sky, Maya and Thomas sat together, listening to the gentle sounds of the world around them. The desert, once a place of fear and isolation, had become a place of growth, learning, and possibility. Maya had discovered her own strength, earned the respect of her tribe, and formed a bond with Thomas that would guide her through life. She looked toward the horizon, feeling a sense of hope and excitement for the future. She knew that challenges would still come, but she also knew that she was capable of facing them. With Thomas by her side, she felt confident, strong, and ready to embrace whatever life had to offer. In that moment, Maya understood something profound. Life was not about what she could not do, but about what she could achieve with courage, determination, and trust. She had learned to navigate the world without sight, to face danger with bravery, and to find connection, understanding, and respect. She had discovered the power of guidance, the strength of partnership, and the importance of believing in oneself. And as she sat beside Thomas, the rancher who had become her eyes, her guide, and her friend, Maya felt a sense of peace and fulfillment she had never known. She had faced rejection, danger, and uncertainty, yet she had emerged stronger, braver, and more capable than ever before. The desert stretched endlessly around them, full of life, challenges, and beauty. Maya knew that her journey was far from over, but she also knew that she was ready. With Thomas at her side, she could face the world, step by step, heart by heart, with courage, hope, and determination. For Maya, the blind woman once expelled by her tribe, life had become a journey of discovery, strength, and empowerment. She had learned to navigate the world, to trust herself, and to embrace her abilities. And in Thomas, she had found not only guidance but also a companion, a friend, and someone who believed in her unconditionally. Together they faced the desert, the world, and the future, step by careful step, with courage, hope, and the knowledge that strength comes not from sight but from the heart. Maya was no longer defined by rejection or limitation. She was capable, confident, and empowered. And for the first time in her life, she felt truly free.